It is hard to overstate the impact that 9/11 had on the resources that were deployed in all sorts of military engagements. 9/11 ended the era of hard choices, and everything got funded. It really gets down to the question of, again, of what is the military for? And I don't think we know any longer.
Although we've spent $2.5 trillion or so on the wars to date, there's another $2 trillion at least in accrued liabilities, obligations, for example, to veterans for long-term disability benefits and health care, which is still to come. One of the things that we know from previous wars is that there is always a lag between the time that veteran spending peaks and the war. However, this time we have a much higher amount of long-term veterans obligations. And we have certainly not in any way planned ahead for how we are going to pay for this. We have borrowed the money to do this, which is very, very different from the way that we have financed previous U.S. wars, where the actual wars were paid for through a combination of higher taxes and some borrowing. So we really shifted the whole relationship between the country, the way we pay for things, and war spending in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars.
Particularly in the last 10 or 15 years, we've seen an incredible shift in the way the military accomplishes its business and the privatization of so many fundamental functions that the Department of Defense used to do. In our system, U.S. generals and admirals who've retired from the military go to cushy positions in private companies that are part of that privatized workforce. So there's a structural corruption that actually continues the inertia.
We have paid trillions of dollars through emergency supplementals and other mechanisms that circumvent, go around the normal budget process, which means that we're not making trade-offs as a population. We're not in a position to say, because we don't have to trade off against anything, is this amount of military spending worth giving up something else? And I think that lack of public engagement that comes from the fact that we're not paying for it, we're not serving in the military, and we're not making any trade-offs in the legislative sphere means that we have lost accountability entirely for how much money is being spent and whether it's being spent where it should be or even having the information to be able to think about whether it's the right amount of spending or not. It sounds crazy, but we actually don't know how much we've been spending on the wars. We don't know where most of the money that is spent on most military activities actually is spent. And so trying to figure out actually where money is spent in order to be able to save some resources that could be spent on higher priorities is, in my mind, a sort of first step to trying to leverage better what resources we have.
So we have a military and we have a global capacity. We have the largest military in the world, incredible power projection capabilities, and there's not a consensus about what it should be used for. And it sits out there like a sprawling set of, machinery and possibilities that are easily hijacked by incidents.
ISIS is awash in discarded U.S. weaponry. Mostly very expensive weapons that we decided were too expensive to repatriate home, or that they were fully depreciated, or for whatever reason we left them there. So we have tens of thousands of pieces of sophisticated weapons, ranging from guns to armaments, to Humvees, to MRAP vehicles, to light artillery vehicles, which are, have effectively we've gifted to ISIS.